Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. If you recall, in the last session that we were having, we were discussing basically the reference groups. And that we had done after we had finished the lectures on communication and the impact of communication and what are the various aspects of communication. The reason why we were doing these reference groups, if you recall a little further back, we had talked about that consumers normally are influenced, and there is a very significant strategic importance for the marketers to be able to know who these reference groups are. And the reason was basically that when you create segments of the market and you want to target any significant segment, then you need to have some form of communication or a message that has to be communicated to that particular segment. The problem basically is you just can't decide to go into the segment with a message. And what happens is, if you are more clear as to what kind of a group or what kind of an influence can be created on that particular segment in terms of the product, so that these people become more inclined to buy your product, then reference groups become an important concept. And we need to try and figure out what these concepts are. And in the last session, what we had done was that we had been discussing a few of these groups. Among them, we had discussed the friendship group, the work group, the shopping group. Then we had discussed the virtual communities. We talked about brand communities and some consumer action forums or groups that are there. And I had suggested that we will be taking up one of the major areas of family, because family is one of the most significant reference groups which has an impact on the consumer, starting from the childhood, and it continues to the adulthood and goes forward into the life when the persons get married, they have children, they go to middle age, and then old age. So all along the system, this group has its own impact, whereas other groups can be shifting, can change, but this group has a long-lasting impact. Now, before we move into that, we need to understand a few things about appeals, because whenever we communicate, we normally tend to use somebody as our mouthpiece or a spokesperson, and it can be anybody. And the relationship between these reference groups, from where we can choose these people who can become spokesperson, or we can look at the reference group and seek out which particular factor or what particular reference group would that impress these people. For example, we have celebrities. Now, if I knew that the segment that I'm targeting, this group is more interested in basketball, my logical choice would be to try and get hold of Michael Jordan to give voice, to communicate the message, to influence the people to buy, because Michael Jordan is a very strong, known figure in basketball. But on the other hand, if I knew that this segment of mine or this target that I have is more interested in cricket, then perhaps I will be able to choose one of the most important or significant celebrities which are liked or who have credibility with the consumers. So therefore, we will go over a few appeals in various categories and then see how people use these to give the message to the consumers. And obviously, this will be linked up with the reference groups that we have. As we go along, we will see it and then come to a conclusion. Now, basically, we will see that there are celebrity reference groups or appeals that we use. We can use the expert appeal that can come from workplaces, that can come from organizations which are known for technology and so on and so forth. We can use the common person, which can be a friend, a worker in a particular area, a household family, a lady of the house, anybody who is commonly associated with these areas. And if you see, we can link them up with the reference groups that we have. And naturally, we should never forget that all these reference groups and these appeals are directly linked with the kind of product that we are trying to promote or trying to, the group that we are trying to influence. So let me go back again. We were talking about celebrities. We have that. We have experts. We have common man or common person who can do that job for us. Then we also have spokes cartoons, spokesperson, spokes characters, which we normally use. We may also have chief executives or workers in an organization, which can also become a person who can promote the product or voice this. Now, the first and the foremost is the celebrity. The importance of celebrity is that all people consider celebrities and their lifestyles and the way they live as an ideal that they would like to also have, and they would love to have that kind of a life. I'm not saying that they may, once they become a celebrity, enjoy that life, but it's perceptual, and it is believed that with the kind of money they have, the kind of lifestyles they had, all the other problems are ignored, but their visuals are taken in to be the ideals by the consumers, and that is why they have such a significant impact on consumers. For example, organizations and companies spend huge amounts of money to get hold of these celebrities, to try and to give image or some kind of a status, give some kind of identity to their product, basically using these people. It is research that about 25% of all commercials that are done in America normally use celebrities, whether they are sports people, whether they are film actors, musicians, singers, whatever you have, they are normally used for various aspects. Now, that is same true in Pakistan also. For example, in Pakistan and India, we find that the movie stars, the television artists, or the cricket players, some of them are considered to be a very valuable celebrity. And most of the time, you will find organizations trying to use them to promote their products. Just to give you one or two facts, and that will try and impress the point that celebrity voice is critical, though we will also look at certain issues that we face and the kind of appeals that are done. We will look at them, but we look at one or two figures. For example, Michael Jordan, he is a basketball player and one of the very renowned basketball players in the world. He has a contract with Nike, and Nike, you know that it's a sports good manufacturer. So Michael Jordan has a contract with Nike to promote their product till 2023. Yani ke 2023 tak, he is supposed to be their promoter. On the other hand, if you know the football player David Beckham, he has a contract with Gillette for $68 million to promote their product. And basically, he's promoting their Turbo and their latest shaving products. Now, we need to understand what kind of appeals that these people do produce for the commercials and how do they do it. Now, there are 4 types that they can use. One is testimonials. Now, testimonial is basically based on when the person himself has used the product, and that is an important concept that you need to recognize. Testimonial is when he testifies that he has used this product, and he then, after using the product, is vouching for the quality. In other words, कि उसने पहले इसको इस्तेमाल किया और अब वो गवाही देता है कि ये product जो है quality के base के ऊपर, it is supposed to be a good product. On the other side, the second one is endorsement. Now, endorsement may, what happens is that the person gives his name to the product. For example, we will find that sometimes some perfumes are named after certain celebrities, and they appear, these people, the celebrities appear on behalf of the product while they give their own name. So they are endorsing the product, and their name is normally, as signatures are shown along with the product, and therefore they are doing it that way. Third framework is when they are actors. So they come on the television, they have the product, and they are trying to promote that product and, using their own character, their own credibility, their own fame, and they link their fame to that particular product. And you would have seen them a number of times in Pakistan, even to the extent that sometimes what they call residential areas or places which are, let's say, housing schemes are promoted by some of our television celebrities, and they do that. Finally, we have the spokesperson. Now, spokesperson are when they go on to long-term contract for endorsing the product itself. And in that frame, what happens is that they become ambassadors to the product and brand over time. So sometimes we find that Rolex watch has contracted with a celebrity as a brand ambassador, and the person will become a spokesperson for that product for a long, or that brand particularly, for a long period of time. Now, these are the few areas or the types, as we say, the kind of methods that are used to create these appeals. Now, let's look at certain issues that normally surround these usages of these celebrities. You must understand, and we have discussed it, and we are coming back to it again, it's not important that every type of product would have a celebrity to do it. For example, if it is a technologically based product, which is like a computer, you cannot expect a handsome actor or actress to try and promote that product, because most of the people will have a problem with credibility, because here we need somebody who's technologically expert in it. But on the other hand, let's see if there was a tennis racket, which is obviously being used by, let's say, Andre Agassi, who has been a very significant tennis player, or if you have a squash racket and you have Jamshed Khan, who is talking about the technological features of a racket, that could be acceptable. But if you were to ask Jamshed Khan to try and promote a very highly technically sophisticated product, there may be a problem in the credibility issue. On the other side, it has been researched that where you have a product which is linked with emotional frames, which is internalized frames, at that point of time, attractiveness of the person is more relevant. For example, the cosmetics has an emotional appeal. Similarly, as dresses, these have an emotional appeal, and therefore, these are to be promoted as per research by attractive models, because that is where the whole thing sets in. People would like to, because it's emotional, it does not require any technology, and since more credibility is shown to the product itself and the message, if the person who's promoting a type of a cosmetic which will improve the hair, so that kind of a model will be used, who will or who she will work and promote and be credible for that particular product. This is where we have an important concept where, as we have discussed earlier, credibility of the person becomes very important, and these two examples should be able to explain why we are referring it again and again, because we cannot make a mistake and use a model to promote something that people will not believe the model has any knowledge about. Now, what does a celebrity bring to the product itself? Therefore, there are certain characteristics of the model or the celebrity which has an impact or influences the consumer. Now, they have fame. For example, fame is something which is purely based on perceptions of how renowned that person is. Kitna mashhoor hai wo aadmi. Ya, they can also look at the talent that the person has. The person may not be very attractive, but because of the recognized talent the person has, then that becomes an important concept. And this talent has a relationship with credibility. Now, credibility itself of the person is very relevant. The celebrity is what they call credibility. And we will see that this credibility can be affected by scandals. Now, and that is why sometimes we will see, as we come later on, that some companies do not use these celebrities for the same purpose. Now, there is another thing, what we call charisma. Now, charisma is unknown or undefinable quality in a person where people tend to start living or start behaving in the manner that the person has because of his charisma. Now, therefore, these 4 or 5 things the celebrities bring to the product itself. Now, the issue that we find is that sometimes celebrities promote more than one product at the same time. We see, for example, Beckham is totally aligned with Gillette and Michael Jordan with Nike, but then in Pakistan and some other areas, we find the same celebrity trying to promote a number of products. This creates an issue of credibility. Now, because the same person is trying to promote so many products, it can have an impact on the credibility related to usage or related to the expertise of the person or whatsoever. So we find that sometimes the organizations try and avoid celebrities. Why? Because these people have already promoted so many products. So if they keep doing promotion for competitive product, it creates a kind of a dichotomy or a kind of a confusion among the mind of the people for the same category or brands or related brands of the products. We find that the same celebrity is doing for one and then goes and does it for the other. So we have an issue there. That is why this becomes an important concept. And most times, the very rich companies tend to make these agreements very exclusive. That means they only will promote their products and nobody else's. Some research has been very confidently stating that the celebrity endorsements or celebrity appeal has a very strong word of mouth influence on people. Particularly, it has been found that sportswomen, the girls who are more athletic, tend to be more influenced by female celebrities who are talking about many products that they have, which they promote. And they also seem to be assumed that men are not that influenced as the women are. However, women do believe that men sports people or the sportsmen also tend to follow the celebrities who are promoting the products, and it's some kind of a perception in the mind of the people. Finally, we would like to, again, like I've been talking about in terms of communication, and we have found that at most of the time, communication, we have discussed credibility. Now, in this situation, again, credibility depends on two things. For example, it can relate to the expertise of the person. And I told you the product is Nike when we find Michael Jordan promoting the product Nike. On the other side, we have the trustworthiness of the person itself. And in this situation, we are very clear that David Beckham has got that kind of trustworthiness in which he is promoting the Gillette's turbo shaving systems. And that is one of the important concepts here. Now, once we have finished the celebrity, let's look at a few other appeals. And one of them that we talked about is expert appeal. Now, expert appeal, if you recall, in Pakistan, we find sometimes the dentists are used to promote toothpaste or tooth powders or whatever, because it is considered that they have the expertise to do it. You will also find sometimes the cosmetic companies taking people to their laboratories where some kind of a expert technician talks about the quality of the product that they are promoting. So expertise is normally used in specific cases where the technical relationship between the product and its usage and the consumer has to be developed strongly. Other type that we have, which is an appeal, is what we call the common man appeal or the common person appeal. It's very simple to understand. Most of the consumers are very common people and they are using daily products. You may like to use frying pan, the cooking oils, or whatever you have, cleaning products. And we find that people tend to relate to other common people who are using the same kind of product and facing the same kind of problems. And therefore, we find that particularly in the area of cleaning products, we see that the promoter or the person who is being used is normally a housewife who is facing a problem of, let's say, keeping the clothes clean. And the reason why they are using them is because most of the housewives will be facing similar problems, and this relationship can be developed in a particular manner. Now, on the other side, we also find that sometimes chief executives are used. Lee Iacocca, if you recall his name, has been one of the gurus now in the management area, and he was the person who turned around Chrysler company. Chrysler is a car model or brand, and America, it had a lot of market. So Lee Iacocca came in and he started bringing change in the company and was very well known for his quality drive and consumer focus. So it was considered by the company that Lee Iacocca, who had developed a reputation in the market, would be the best person to promote their own product. So he was used, and he became an important person for promoting the product. It's not only the chief executives that are used. Sometimes it is also managers, or even down below, these can be workers. Now, the idea of the worker is because people believe that this person has been putting in a lot of effort in trying to build the product, and therefore he would also have a very significant knowledge in terms of what has gone into it, in terms of quality, in terms of effort, and so on and so forth. Sometimes workers are used to promote the same product. Finally, we try and have spokes characters. Now, if you understand what spokes characters are, you all have to look at cartoons, and you will find that there are a number of brands which are directly linked with these cartoon characters, and these cartoon characters are registered also and have copyrights. For example, Kellogg's is a company which produces cereals for children, and there we find Tony the tiger. He is the representative of the cereal brand which is used by Kellogg, and normally all the things that he does, he speaks to the children in their language. Therefore, he becomes a spokesperson for the company, and it's basically a cartoon character. Therefore, a number of people have been using it. A number of products have applied these. That is why sometimes even the Walt Disney's characters are used to promote various products for which they have copyright systems. And last but not the least, we find that these retail outlets also act as spokesperson. And I'll just give you an example, and we have discussed it a long time back, about the placement of the product itself has a lot of influence on the credibility of the product or its reputation. Let's say that there is a very well-known and very elite kind of a retail outlet, and it has a product that is placed into it. Without saying much, there is an endorsement going through from the retailer who has got well-known or who is known for the quality of product that it keeps, and it is now endorsing the product that has been brought into position. And that is why we find that brands try to compete for shelf space in very renowned outlets. So therefore, there is a method by which the retail outlet also turns about to become a spokesperson or endorser or provides a testimonial for the product that we have. Now, having said all this, we need to now take a closer look at the kind of the influence that the family has. Now, family is a very difficult thing to define at any given moment of time, because over a period of time, families change. The structure of the family changes, the number of people involved in the family changes, and so on and so forth. But there is some kind of an impact that continues from childhood to adulthood and even to the old age. But let's first define what is a family. The family is actually considered to be more than two people, whether by marriage or by blood, related by blood, or by adoption, who live together. And when they live together, at a point of time, they become a family. So we need to understand that family is a little different than what we call a household. Household maybe you may have, all families are normally household, but it is not necessary that all households are also families. Or per ye bhi ke we have a different connotation of families. In our case, families are also those, for example, my brother is living in America, I will still call him family, but frankly, from the point of view of marketer, Family is the one where people live together, and that is where the concept stands. And we should understand this, that family belongs to that. Now, the question is that what do we call the nuclear family? This is a concept that has come about in the Western world, where basically the family is only the couple that lives together, the husband or the wife. Why? Because over a period of time, we have seen that the children have become less in terms of how many children live in every household. Internationally, sometimes we have negative areas because, let's say in China, if you have more than one child, it could also penalize you. So normally the family, which is called the nuclear family, is the parents or one child. That is what we have, a nuclear family. Obviously, that is different in terms of Pakistan, because in Pakistan, the average child in a family, average I'm saying, is normally 3 or 4 children to a particular family, and therefore we will call that as the nuclear family. Now, keeping that nuclear family in mind, what could be an extended family? The extended family is if one of the grandparents is living with this nuclear family, which means grandparent, the couple, the husband and wife, and children, which is the basic average of the culture or average of the country. Now, with this, the latest thought or the latest issue that has been coming up in terms of families is the single parent family. Now, remember, we have said that family is always two people related with blood or through marriage or adoption, always is constituted as a family. But then we are finding that more and more people in the Western world have a single parent family, which means because of the divorces, because of many other reasons, death in one of these spouses, the family is reduced to either the mother or father and a child or children. That is where we have single parent family. Why do we want to study all this? The problem is that all along this system, we see that the spending pattern of the families, they change. If I was to go back and see, and I'm talking about the family because family is where influence will take place, and we will look at the influence factors. But one of the most important things in the family is, for the marketers, is the changing pattern of the family in terms of how they spend. Let's say a newly married couple, they are more interested in building a house. So most of their purchases or most of the things that they will purchase is to improve their living conditions, buy a sofa set, buy a television, buy something. And the idea is that they want to continue to improve. But when they have a child, then their spending pattern will change. What will happen is now, because there is a child, there will be more money spent on buying napkins, buying milk products, buying toys for very small children. And that is the idea why the pattern of spending will change. And logic says that you don't want to keep promoting the same thing that you were promoting to a couple who is just newly married, and when they have 4 children and all of them are going to school. Again, the pattern will change. And the pattern will change in this form, that now more school books, uniforms are going to be bought, more time will be spent on how the children are going to be transported to the school, brought back from the school. They will have less time for travel. For example, a newly married couple might go on traveling around the world, but when they have 3 or 4 children going to the school, this traveling will be reduced. Most of the time will be spent by the family in trying to educate the children, trying to support them, and so on and so forth. So we find that there is a regular pattern change which takes place repeatedly over a period of time. Now, if we recall that it's not just the spending, but if you go back to a place where we were talking about how values are created and segmentations use these value systems and lifestyles and behaviors to segment the market, we will understand that the family becomes a very critical point in which all these frameworks are developed. So if we can understand the family values, we should be able to understand the kind of values that will be part of the segment, particularly as they grow and mature. Now, this concept is what we call socialization of the family members. And these people try and inculcate the basic value systems or behaviors that the family will exhibit through their children. And this is done when the children are observing their parents under various conditions. And if you see that it is basically, if a child is told to pick up a thing that has been dropped, maybe while going on the road, you might have seen sometimes the child throws away the chewing gum's wrapper or the ice cream cone wrapper again. So the mother tells him to go and pick up that piece and deposit it into a dustbin. Now, this value system would obviously be inculcated in the child. And it is this that we have to understand, because it's not just the purchasing or the buying or the consuming that is important for the marketers, but it is also how things are going to be disposed of. Because at the end of the day, the disposal of the products that we use has got a larger impact on the environment that we do not really recognize at this point of time. So we try and learn certain basic values and behaviors which are very critical. Not only this, all moral, ethical, religious principles that we have come from the family. In other words, sometimes even the shampoo that you use or the toothpaste you use or the cream you use is because you have seen your parents, your mother or your father using these, and that is how you will learn these things. So that is one aspect of why do we want to study families. The second aspect is that children are going to become consumers, and this is what we call consumer socialization of children, the process by which children acquire the knowledge, the behaviors, the methods of becoming or acting like a proper consumer in terms of they need to start, how do they communicate to the retailer even. To that extent, the children are socialized to become consumers as they grow up. And if you visit some retail shops and you see where children are also part of the group where families are buying, you will see that sometimes parents, mothers are still trying to control the child's behavior, because now they are trying to tell the child that he is in a shopping area and this is the way he has to buy. Sometimes they even give him the money or her the money to go and give the money to the shopkeeper, say thank you and so on and so forth. So they, through this method of control or through control by the parents or observation by the children, they learn how to become consumers. And this is what we have as a concept, and we need to be able to understand how families influence children and the way they will in the future behave. But the point which is also important to recognize is that this is not generalizable, in the sense that all children will not be trained to become similar consumers all over the world. It has been studied and it has been recognized that, let's say in America, the mothers tend to allow the child to be more free, to be able to buy things or to be able to approach the retail shops or the products that they have. On the other side, in Japan, it is considered that the mothers are very strict in terms of what the child can touch or not touch, or what they can buy or look at. And therefore, we will find that these kind of things will continuously happen across cultures. And then when we will be talking about cultures, these will become more prominent in this area. Now, this is not the end. Children's socialization is one part, but we also find that adults also have this consumer socialization process going on throughout their life. When we grow as teenagers, we have a distinct approach to purchase behavior, but when we grow older, we tend to have different outlooks on what to buy and how much to pay for, and what kind of negotiations we do with the retailers, and how do we look at price. It all changes as the things change. Now, the final is the intergenerational socialization process, which means basically that we can see certain products are passed from the mother to the daughter through this generational frame. And a number of studies have been carried out, which has seen that most of the household products, basic products like that, those used for cooking or for cleaning, are normally passed from one mother to the other, and it goes on to the to number of generations. And we can see a number of products. For example, dalda was supposed to be one of the products which always considered to be a generational product from one mother passed on to the other. Now, other than this, families also perform some other tasks or other areas that they influence. There are three major areas, and if we look at it, we will discuss a little bit so that we will be clear as to how. And if you recall that we were talking about personalities, so when the family is behaving in a particular manner, they are also creating personalities. Now, one of the area is the economic well-being. The families tend to try and help the children to have a good economic framework. Therefore, they try and guide them. And if you see in Pakistan, mainly parents try and get their children to go to America, and they keep talking about, okay, you must go out of the country. UK is the better place. America is the better place. So what is happening basically is that the child is from the very beginning learning that there is something which may be more important to him, though it may not be true. That is what we should understand. But what is happening is that when we keep talking about these things, the child starts behaving or learning or processing information on the same frame. Now, on one side, we have the economic well-being. The other is the emotional well-being. Now, emotional well-being means that sometimes children are totally stressed out. The parents put so much of pressure in consideration of the economic well-being in terms of, okay, if my child scores well in the school, does well in the class, stands first, will go to America, and the pressure is built on the child. And when the pressure is built on the child, obviously it will have certain impacts which will determine the kind of personality the person will have, which obviously will lead on to the way the person is going to consume or become a consumer. All these things are therefore very relevant in terms of trying to understand how families come about to influence consumer behavior, and that is what we will be discussing. Now, once we have done this, let's quickly look at, before we end this session, we quickly look at the family decision-making roles. We have understood that there is influence. We know the influences now, but as a family, as a unit, as we have said, that spending takes place and it goes over a period of time. Spending patterns change, but within that pattern change is the decision-making process. And family has its own decision-making process, which becomes very critical in terms of how they go about it. The first point that we have is a person called influencer. Now, if you have seen your elder brothers or sisters working, or if you are the elder, sometimes you bring information to your father or your mother saying that this product is available, which has got this quality, this quality, this quality in terms of, let's say, the laptop or the mobile phone you want to buy, or you want to buy a motorcycle, or somebody wants to buy Wi-Fi radio or iPod or whatever it is. Normally, there is somebody who will initiate the information. The person will bring information to the home saying, this is now available. So the first contact of the family with the product is through this initiator or influencer. The second person is called the gatekeeper. Now, the gatekeeper's job is that he tends to have the information flow. Okay, information hogi kya? So he controls the amount of information that will flow in, or he may encourage more information to be flowing in so that a proper decision can be made. So this person, therefore, has the responsibility to guide information. He tends to control what kind of information is there. Let's say the son comes along and he says, there is a very fine computer laptop available in the market. Given this laptop availability, the person will, or the father is there, or the elder brother, he says, no, this information is not enough. Can you pick up a brochure for us so that the brochure comes into position? Now, the brochure is there. Sometimes he can also say, well, I'm not interested in the brochure. who has used this product. So if the person says it is my friend, so they might have an interview with this friend, and this is done by the gatekeeper. Now, gatekeeper, once this is done, the third category of role that is played is deciding whether we will postpone this purchase, whether we will buy it now, or we will go around shopping, and so on and so forth. Let's take the same example of the computer. Information is now here. It can be that the group together decides, okay, fine, we go and buy it. Or they can say, no, let's go and look at a few other brands available in the market, or maybe we visit 2 or 3 shopping centers where laptops are available, or whatever. So decisions are taken at that point of time, including the decision of buying and consuming. Let's take another example to settle this up. There might be a child who goes running to a place and says that chocolate is available. What chocolate are we talking about? It's that chocolate. Okay, go and buy it. And the money is given, and immediately the product is bought, and the child just has to come and ask, can I eat it? And therefore, he can also consume it. But sometimes it is also said, no, leave it there. Let's go and look at the other shop. Maybe they will have better chocolate. So if you look at this whole logic, there is this influencer, there is this person who is kind of a gatekeeper who controls the information flow. Then we have the decider who says, okay, buy it. This decision of buying is different from the actual person who is going to actually go and buy the product. Now, the product has to be purchased by somebody. If it's a very costly product, maybe the father, the mother, and the son will all go together, or the mother, the father, and the daughter will go together, particularly if it is something which is very critical from the point of view of the lady, like if the daughter is going to have a party or she is going to go for a marriage, then the mother and the daughter is going to go, and they will become the purchase agents. Decision may be taken by the father, who might still be staying at his home, but because it's, let's say, something like 10 or 15,000, so the decision is taken. The father says, okay, go and buy. But who is going to buy? It's the mother who is going to buy. And the mother who is buying is different than the person who is going to use it. And let's say it is the daughter who will be using it finally when the purchase has been taken. It is also possible that the user is the person who is finally going to consume the product. The child, let's say, the mother has decided that this particular cereal is good for the health of my son. And the initiator in this case might have been a doctor. So the doctor says that your child requires to eat more cereal with vitamins A, D, and so forth. The mother seeks information, tries to find out what kind of cereals are available, and then the decision is taken. Now, in this whole situation, the child may be totally unaware of what is happening. And therefore, the user becomes a little different than the person who is going to actually buy it. It is also possible, that the product is not to be used directly to eat. It could be possible that it has to be prepared. Now, it is possible that the father goes and buys a particular kind of flour or a particular kind of a product that will be later on cooked by the mother. So what we have is another category. This category is the kind of we call preparers. They will prepare the thing for consumption. It's also possible, like we have do-it-yourself. These are DIYs, which are called do-it-yourself, like we buy a table which is in broken condition or knocked down condition. It is brought into the home, and then all the things are fixed together so that it is ready for use. This is normally done in case of children toys also. Sometimes we find that there is a toy, it's a large scale kind of a small house that we have for the child. It's not in the packet, it's all broken into pieces. It's brought to the home, and now either the father or the elder brother or the mother becomes the preparer, and they then put it all together so that it is ready for use or for consumption, and so on and so forth. Then there is a category of maintainers. These maintainers are the people who are responsible for maintaining the product, keeping it clean, repairing it if it is possibly broken down. These are things that if you really look at the family itself as a whole, you will see that small things are being done, even to the extent that if a cloth or a jean gets torn or a button gets torn off, then there is a particular person, the mother or the sister, who's going to stitch it or sew it. And this is the way that we will do. Before I will finish, I will try and explain the strategic importance and what does a marketer do. But final among this decision-making role is what we call the disposal role. Now, disposers are people who will finally do away with the product in its shape. This can be in the form of dumping it in a waste basket or throwing it away in an empty lot or selling it off as a second-hand product or a different thing. So all these things are part and parcel of the purchase behaviors, and the family in itself has this category of buyers or the decision makers through the system. What we need to understand as marketers that at each point, if you see it, each point, there is an opportunity for the marketer to influence that particular decision-making area. Let's say the first case is the initiator. Now, we have already talked about the opinion leaders who normally bring new product ideas to people. And if it's a college, and if the marketer has targeted one of the opinion leaders for a new brand or a new product into the market, the likelihood is that this information will be brought into the family, particularly if the influencer, the opinion leader, is a strong personality. And on the other side, for example, if we knew who the decision makers are, then all our promotion will be targeted towards that individual who takes the decision. And there is a very good example, which I had already quoted, and I think it is time to bring that kind of a thing into position again. It was about couples traveling, and the question was, who takes the decision of where to stay for the night or where to have lunch or dinner when people are traveling intercity? At that point of time, the assumption was that it is the man who does it, that is the husband does it, particularly if the wife, husband and child or children are traveling. But after properly carrying out research in terms of putting cameras into the cars where these couples were traveling and the discussion was taking place, it was found out that it was actually the women who were taking these decisions of which hotel or motel to stay over for the night, which particularly is very, very relevant. Why? Because if the advertisement was targeted towards the husband who does not have any decision-making role, then all that money is got to be wasted. So we need to be able to be very clear, where does the decision-making lie? And that category is what we are at this point of time talking about in terms of influencing. It is the same case when we talk about disposal. If you recall, all the products nowadays that are being produced because of the environmental protection laws and reasons, you will see that advice is that these should be deposited or disposed of in a particular dustbin so that it does not pollute the system. But there are certain electronic goods which can also have damaging impact on individuals. And that is why another issue comes into position of how to dispose of things which have lasted their life and are not now important in terms of being sold off, like computers. It has been told that most of the computers that are second-hand, destroyed computers, junk is coming into Pakistan also. And here we find that it is health hazard, though we are not aware of it because we think we are buying a cheap product. But the people who are working through the system have this issue. And that is why internationally disposal also becomes a very critical area. Now, to the end of this lecture, let's quickly recapitulate. And the idea is that we started with the influence, where we looked at a few groups that have an impact on consumer behavior. Going through all these, we looked at the celebrities and the experts and their issues surrounding them. Finally, we came to the family, and we have seen why we study the family, and we have also noted the decision-making processes. Next class, what we will do is we will look at the life cycle. As I've been saying, that the spending pattern is directly linked with the life cycle. So it will be an important concept. And from there, we will try and move on to social classes, because even families, as they move through their life cycle, they tend to move through various social frameworks, and that will become our focal point in the next class. With this, we come to the end of the lecture. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Allah Hafiz.